Greetings, mortals. Brimthen Babbles here, and today I am excited to tell you guys that we are doing another Brimthen Babbles. This is season 2. In the last one, we had Red the Pastor, and in today we're going to have one of my best friends here, Mr. Nance, and I want to welcome him onto the podcast. Welcome, Mr. Nance.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
You know, every day is a good day if you ask me. Some are just tougher than others. But, you know, we have had a podcast once before for this. And there's a lot of different things to talk about because if I remember correctly, in that podcast, we were talking about Dark Souls and how you didn't really like it too much. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how that may have changed?
It did, in fact, change. Honestly, I'm surprised that it did change, but it did. I was watching you, Mr. Dumpling, and a few others playing it, and I was sitting there watching it at first, and I was like, you know, I never really could get into it. And then I started watching y'all and started watching the success when you finally take down a boss and how it feels and all that stuff, and I was like, man, I want to feel this for myself and give it a shot, because I feel like I never gave it a fair shake. And then got Dark Souls 1 when it got on sale for one of the rarest times ever when it goes on sale anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Started playing it, and then it just kind of took off from there. It kind of snowballed. I really enjoyed 1, and then I played 2, and then played 3, and then around the corner, Elden Ring.
Oh yeah, and I'm excited about Elden Ring. We're planning a big month-long event where I play and stream every day of Elden Ring. I've even sat down and told my family, like, hey, don't plan anything for March, dude. Don't plan anything for March now. We don't want to do nothing for March. I'm gonna be busy. But nah, that's been the kind of reaction to a lot of people when they sit down with Dark Souls with me. I've had a few people that have went out and ended up not liking it. It's not a game for everybody. I'm not going to say that, but it's one of those games that as long as you don't give up, you will beat it. It's just kind of learning to unlearn a lot of habits that you have in other games, because with it, you know, you can't just rush in. You know, if you play other RPG games, you can just run in, fight everything, drink down a bunch of potions, and survive just about any fight that comes at you. But with Dark Souls, there's not even a pause, and you've got to kind of fight each enemy with respect almost, because as soon as you don't respect an enemy, he's got you down.
I agree with that, most definitely. If my Mantis experience was any indication, I walked in and got bopped on the noggin as soon as I walked in. but yeah, and but honestly, like that was the thing, I guess, that intrigued me, that flipped me, like the success of killing a boss and learning it and doing it. And it feels so good when you get into that dance with them and you're like, I'm doing it. And it's an amazing experience. Like, there's so many bosses where I'm like, this is awesome. This right here is awesome. Right. And I got that feeling for almost like quite a few bosses. Like, no matter how much I died, I'm like, I'm gonna go back and do it again. I'm gonna do it again. Go ahead.
And we've seen that with other people, because like even when Focal was jumping in on there, he ended up. We were talking back and forth, and Focal was like, "Yeah, I'll probably just play one playthrough of it or whatever." And he's already went off and done a charity stream with it. He's already went off and started some other stuff. Focal's in the chat. What up, bro? But yeah, he's already done like a charity stream and has already like played some other stuff of it. And it has been an absolute joy to watch these other people playing it, like Dumplings, Sir Baldus, you. I've watched a ton of people play Dark Souls at this point. I just kept buying it for other people and seeing their different feelings about the game and watching them go through it for the first time. Because like you said, it rarely goes on sale. So like I grab it for that $15-20 every time almost.
Oh yeah, like I've been just watching to see if it's been on sale, and it rarely ever goes on sale anymore.
I keep telling people to like pass it along, you know, you enjoy it, pass it along to the next person, you know, get it for somebody else, keep spreading it, because it's hilarious. And I've tried to get my nieces into it as well, because it teaches self-confidence as well. Like once you feel confident in your ability, you just go in there and kill it. And me and you have laughed behind the scenes of like the old tip of just go in there and kill it, because that's kind of what you do. Like it's hard to explain, but there's not like a real method. It's just go in there and keep fighting it until you kill it.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And like you said, it's like really hard to explain, but it's like once you get in there and start learning the dance and stuff, after you fought that boss a couple of times, you just kind of go in there and your brain's like, all right, I know how to dance with this boss. So you just walk in there and kill it pretty much.
That's right.
And then there's a lot of people that are new to the game or have never beat it. And they're like, how'd you do that? You're like, I just walked in and killed it. What do you mean?
Exactly.
And that's literally the only way to explain it.
And just like a dance, they're stepping on the boss's feet. You've got to learn to sway and move and dodge and attack, and that's the beauty of the game. Once you pick up that skill, it goes with you in every other game from there on. We watched Dumpling, and he was like, now that I'm good at Dark Souls, I can do yada 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 or whatever, because it improves you on every other game that you end up playing.
And to that point, I will say this. Usually I just play games for the experience. So I always played on maybe easy or very easy or whatever, just to enjoy the game or whatever it is. But ever since I got through with Dark Souls, I look at easy and I'm just pretty much now, and I'm like, nah, give me that hard difficulty now. Like that's way too easy. I don't enjoy that anymore. Like right. It's weird and it's crazy. Like my mental on big games after playing Dark Souls just kind of flipped. Now I'm just like, yeah, give me that challenge. Make me have to climb that mountain.
Oh yeah. Since when I was first starting out in gaming, I always picked the hardest difficulty. I was always every step of the way I wanted the hardest difficulty, because at the time I recognized that I'm not doing anything important. I'm just playing games, so it's like however long it takes me to beat the campaign is however long it takes me to beat the campaign, and I would just die over and over and over and over and over and over. I don't know how many times I died on the old Modern Warfare 2 and the old shooter games where the AI just like picked your head off without warning, and I just kept playing on the hardest difficulties until I beat the game, and never really cared too much about the rest. Just because I liked doing it, but obviously I wasn't beating any records of doing it quickly. But when I became a streamer, I had to kind of tone that down a little bit, because obviously I can't sit here and play for 3 hours straight dying on the same level.
Yeah, that is true. You can't be doing that.
But a lot of the games that I've been playing don't really have difficulty sliders anyway, and I don't like difficulty sliders for that reason anymore. I think it kind of tones down a game just a little bit too much. Because when you have a difficulty slider, the game's not catered to the player. It's catered to easy, which is laughable, or hard, which is just beat your head into the wall. And usually the difficulty is only changing health or how accurate they can shoot at you or whatever. It doesn't really equate to a harder game necessarily, as just a more tedious game. So for games like Souls-likes, I really respect that they don't have difficulty sliders. But me and you have went back and forth, like trading games and like experiencing different stuff. Like you got me on Conan Exiles, and I'm actually in the process of working on editing my Conan Exiles right now. I want to try to get it out there probably sometime after Elden Ring's over with, because that's going to consume a large portion of my time pretty soon. But man, Conan Exiles was just like a great game for me at the time, because I was sitting there and just like zoned out and just farmed and got what I needed, built a base, packed it all up and built a new base in a better place with better stuff, and just had that constant kind of snowball roll where it was just eyeing straight forward to the end and getting it. But like it was a bit tedious, it's quite a grind, but it was fun. It was so fun. I loved Conan Exiles, and I thank you for showing me that game.
Oh yeah, and I appreciate all the games that you showed me, which was Dark Souls, and even you have changed my mind on Minecraft. Like I hated Minecraft for the longest time, and then I know I haven't got on the hardcore server much right now as of late because of the holidays.
Yeah, you've been
stuff
busy.
like that.
You've been busy.
It's
all right,
but like even then, because I was like, I don't understand this game. I don't see why so many people find it entertaining. I know that's probably not the best opinion for a lot of people that's probably in chat right now. But yeah, I didn't understand it. I just rather would have played like Codan or Ark, something like that. Usually, if I want to play a survival game. But yeah, you've introduced me to some new games where I was like, wow, I did not think I would like this, and it's awesome. That's like an awesome experience. Like, if you don't think you might might not like something, but there's like a little part of you that's like, well, maybe I might if I just give it a shot. Try to give it a chance if you got the time. Like, you'd be surprised.
And that's something that I try to tell everybody. Like, if you don't like something, give it an opportunity, because it could change your mind, you know. Even if you've had like a bad experience with it, which I understand and respect being, you know, hesitant to try something that gave you a bad experience. You know, I've been to restaurants where I got poor service or poor food the first time I was there, and a lot of people in my family, they'll go, well, we'll never be back there again. I don't care. I ain't never going back there. Even they'll do that to places that even they've been to for 100 times, and you know, it'll be the one time, you know what I mean? But I'll go back somewhere and try them again, and it'll be like the best experience I've ever had. So for me, I always err on the side of give it a shot, see if you like it. If you don't, that's fine. Maybe try again in the future, because maybe your tastes will change. You know, people change. People's personalities change, you know. It's always worth giving something a try. Which has gotten me in a little bit of trouble because I've played Skyrim probably too many times to count and watched so many Star Wars films and stuff, and I still can't get behind them. But I keep trying to let them convince me that I like them, you know?
I've been there, believe me, many a times, because a lot of people that know me, they call me very hard-headed, because, you know, I'll be like, hey, come play this game with me, and they'll come try it out with me, and then they'll try to invite me over, and I'm like, no, screw that game. Or something like that. Like, I just don't want to do it. And I've, you know, since we've got back reacquainted and stuff, you know, I've gotten more open and more trying to try new games and stuff like that. Like, where usually I'd be like, nah, I wouldn't play that. So I just go back to my little bubble of this is what I like, and I'm going to stay with it instead of trying something new. But when you try those new experiences, man, I mean, it's a whole new adventure, and you're like, dang, I didn't think I'd like this. And that's such a good feeling to see, like, anybody say that, to be honest. And I know you were smiling ear to ear about the Dark Souls ordeal. Like, and the thing is, like, I played Remnant, Rise from the Ashes, I think it's called.
Yep, from the Ashes.
And, you know, it was like it's a Dark Souls-y element game. But back then, like, I didn't even think about that, to be honest, when I played it. Like, I played it with my girlfriend and Xanifer. It never crossed my mind that it was like Dark Souls. And then because I remember you were telling me, you're like, you know, you're pretty accustomed to the dances and stuff on this game. I know you took what I was teaching people to heart and stuff, and I was, you know, listening to what you had to say about how to fight bosses and stuff. But then I told you about how I played that, and you're like, now I see where that little bit of a spark came from when I watched you fight the bosses and stuff. And I never thought about it at the time, like when I was playing that game. But yeah, I enjoyed that game. Didn't have a problem with it. So I don't know why I had such a problem with Dark Souls. Like, it's just interesting to me. And back then I was just like, nah, no Dark Souls.
Oh yeah, and Remnant is literally that same process, you know. It's a corridor area into a boss that you need to learn, and like Zalas said just here, Remnant is probably one of his top 3 Souls games, and I agree with that statement. It's definitely a game that I want to play again on stream. I have some really old footage of me and Zalost playing through it. My first time playing it was back in the Dark Celtic Origin days, where, you know, my content really wasn't that great. And maybe I'll release it one day as like a, you know, throwback to olden days type deal. But nah, man, like Remnant was so fun, and I definitely want to go back to it someday. And to speak on games that we've been trying back and forth, I loved that and I can't think of the name of it now. You might remember the other SWAT game, not Ready or Not, but the other
0
one.
Hour.
0 Hour. Oh, I loved 0 Hour. I got consumed into that, man. I was sitting there like trying to run that course over and over. I loved that. That was awesome.
Oh.
And you recently got me, I believe for Christmas, my copy of Ready or Not, and finally got onto it today and fiddled around a little bit and figured out what Ready or Not was all about. And it looks neat. It looks really cool. The AI was really neat, where I could like tell them to go up to the door and check it out, breach it, clear it, and do all that stuff. And I was just kind of like watching them. Because every time I went on my own, the people that I shouldn't kill would get grabbed, and I would shoot them instead of the person that I was supposed to shoot. And it was just a little too fast for me. But with a little bit of time and practice, I thought it was cool. What I really, really thought was impressive with Ready or Not was the area before you go into the match, where you customize your equipment and get things set up. The way of building your guns and trying them out. I couldn't figure out how to get the timer started for the gun course, but I thought all that was kind of neat. And I'm assuming you could be in that room with other players, because it had like a mission area where everybody had to stand type deal.
Yes. Whenever you play with other people, your AI crew just kind of disappears. So if there's just a friend in there with you, it's just you two breaching and clearing everything. And I have to tell you, I've had too many heart attacks with Xanifer when me and him played that little bit. Like it literally, like it went from me and him breaching and clearing, going smooth, and then all of a sudden it just went face immediately just screamed black, because he went to shoot through a door, and then somebody came up behind me and shot me in the back. Like it was just quick, like you couldn't even respond, man. And I love that experience of, you don't know what's going to happen when you're in those situations, and it's just very immersive, because that's what actual, SWAT goes through when they're going through those situations and stuff at times.
Oh yeah.
So, like that gets your heart ticking whenever you're walking up to a door trying to breach it and checking the rooms and stuff. Oh, such a great experience. Like the best experience I had with Ready or Not, because I was using the riot shield, and Zan breached the door for me, and I kind of went in as he knocked the door open, and this guy had a P90 and just lit me up, and I couldn't see anything through the shield because there was just so many bullets hitting that little look hole that you have right there to see. And I'm like, I can't see, and all you hear is da 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 on the shield.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I love listening to bullets hitting a riot shield in any game.
Oh yeah, I agree with you, man. But boy, that had my heart ticking, man, because I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do anything because I couldn't move because he was just suppressing me the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ooh. But yeah, I can't wait to play that with you, Sir Baldus. I can't wait till we all get together and play that, whoever would be interested in playing it.
Oh yeah. Lately I've been messing around with Tarkov, and Sir Baldus recently got the game. But I've been having a lot of fun on Tarkov in my off time, so to speak. I know it's not a game you're particularly interested in.
I know, but I will say this. I might not be interested in it, but I do love watching other people play it.
Yeah. I can understand that.
I can see the adrenaline rush you can get off that of going around through there. You don't know what's around the corner or who's going to sneak up on you. When you tell me about that, of how you with the pistol hiding in the bathroom, just tap that dude in the head when you unlock that door. That's just great to me, to be honest. I would have had a heart attack if I was that dude that was opening the door.
Oh, he wouldn't even known what happened. He probably thought he got shot down the hallway or something. Like he would have had no idea where I was at, because when you die, it just goes straight to a death screen and tells you that you got hit in the head at what meters or whatever. So he probably thought it was on down the hallway. Somebody came up the stairs and popped him in the head or something. Those are my most like satisfying moments, when like you're in the match and you're like, I see you, and then it's just headshot, and it's just such a clean hit, It's always satisfying. Zalos over here. I've been staring at my Tarkov on my desktop for a week now. I just unlocked Jaeger. I'm at like level 8 or whatever. I played a whole bunch today, and Nas hung out with us, and Sebaldus hung out with us, Lucky hung out with us. Brickett was there for a while. He played Tarkov with me today. And I gotta say, I love the community that has came around on this channel, because we hang out, we chat all the time on Discord, and we play games together. And I think the level of camaraderie and engagement that this community and has is just amazing. Because I've had some of the most wonderful moments with everybody that is in both my Discord, Twitch, all that. And I really wouldn't replace it for anything. I've had so much joy from it.
I agree with you, man. You have a lot of special people in Discord, man. Like, they're amazing people to play with, enjoy the experience. I don't want to start naming people because I don't want to forget anybody, but like, yeah. I've had a lot of amazing experience with people inside that Discord, and it's been amazing. Although I will say, I would like to be, I will have a smile on my face if I see more people getting into Warhammer.
Yep. Oh yeah, we got to start up some like Warhammer stuff at some point again. Well, Warhammer 3 is around the corner, right? Warhammer 3 is around the corner.
We have 5 days before Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it worked out that way, but.
Oh yeah. And Elden Ring is going to take a lot of time off of me, sadly. But we'll play some before then. Maybe we can finish a whole match or something before we end up doing it.
Oh yes, 5 days is more than enough to at least get halfway or finish one. And I'm assuming the map's not going to be massive, like how we like to play with everybody on the map. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not going to be as big. It's just going to be the third map so far. You know, until they add it in. But yeah, I can't wait. I don't know if we're gonna go order or chaos, but either way, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to smash.
Hey, I'm gonna be Papa Nurgle. You know that already. I gotta be Papa Nurgle, man.
All right, I guess I gotta be Zinch. We gotta go smashing everybody.
But yeah, and that's been a wonderful kind of thing to watch people in our community play games together and chat together. You know, TMA and Focal doesn't know this, but I know they're here, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. But the day that I had TMA come to me with things that Focal was doing, where they've been talking back and forth and he's been in his streams and everything, it's such a wonderful thing to kind of see, because it's like, not only is people here to, like, you know, be in my Discord and play games with me, but like they're intermingling between each other type deal. It's not just me, you know, it's everybody kind of doing their own things together. So it's really becoming like a group friendship type deal. And Sir Baldus does the same thing. You know, he's hanging out with y'all often playing games that I don't even know about, you know.
That's true.
I think it's kind of unique because I've been in a few other people's Discords, and oftentimes the people that are there are just there for the streamer or the person that's mainly making it. So it becomes very hard to kind of get group activities going, because people are only going to be interested in if head honcho is there to do things, so to speak. And it's been a wonderful kind of interconnection in my Discord that I'm very blessed and thankful for. And it's fun to me that I have someone like you kind of by my side, where I can communicate. You know, like today we had an issue came up, and I went straight to you and I was like, look, this is what's going on. I need to get my mind off this. I need to like figure out what I'm going to do and work through the problem. And that has been like such a helpful resource because it's a lot to manage sometimes. You know, you get tons of videos that you need to edit. You get tons of small details that need to be fixed. Your computer implodes. Now you got 1,000 settings you got to fix. you know, and to have somebody lean on has been, I've been so thankful to have, Nance.
Indeed, man. And I mean, you've done the same for me on multiple occasions, and that goes out to anybody, you know, in the community or on here or anything. Especially with Brim, like if you really need somebody to lean on, message one of us, anybody in that Discord. Everybody's fantastic in that Discord, man. Most people will help you out, give you somebody to lean on or talk to if you need to. Like I've heard Focal say it multiple times on his stream. Reach out to him if you really need it. And that's a busy man right there, and he's willing to take time out of his, you know, he's busy and try to help you out if you need somebody to talk to. Like that's just fantastic to see, and I love seeing that.
Oh yeah,
it's great.
And we even have a little wholesome chat channel as well, where if somebody needed to like vent something or get some advice or talk to somebody, there's a little place in my Discord dedicated to like kind of it's a weird term, but like a safe space for anybody to say anything, and the rules are nobody are supposed to judge you, so to speak.
Right. And that's a great thing, man. Like just to have that outlet, because there's a lot of people out there, you know, that might be scared to come forward, but you know, you're one of those people, and so is, you know, multiple people in the Discord that I've seen, you know, and they talk, you know, hey, if you need somebody to talk to, come forward, come talk to me. Don't just sit there and, you know, and not get help if you need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Talking, coming forth, getting it off your chest always feels so much better than sitting there just drowning in it or whatever you want to call it, whatever metaphor you want to call it. Like, get you some help, like talk to somebody, anything. Like it helps out so much. Like I've came to Bram multiple times. I'm like, hey man, I'm stressed out. Let's hang out, do something to get my mind off of it. And next day I'm better. I'm ready to go.
Yep, that's it. The longer you sit and stew and think about something, the worse it's going to get at the end of the day, because you're making it worse on yourself. The situation itself might not even be that terrible, barring that there are terrible experiences people go through, of course. But sometimes overthinking it makes it into a larger monster than what it's supposed to be.
Yes, because I can be one, and I'm sure you can be too. There's a situation that it's probably not even that worrisome. Like a lot of people are like, oh, that's nothing to worry about. But you sit there and stew on it or fixate on it for so long, it becomes like this massive problem in your brain. You're just like, holy crap, and you start getting anxious and stuff. Like, and it's really not that big of a deal when you finally talk to somebody about it, and they're like, hey, that ain't no big deal. And then you're like, really? I've been sitting here worried about the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's been enjoyable, and I think that's been the core idea of everything that I've been doing for a long time, and I think I've said it in a few other places, but my Discord, my content as a whole has always been geared to that person that might not have anybody, you know, because not everybody is able to have a lot of friends or do a lot with people, and their whole social interaction might just be their teacher, their parents, and then their TV. And if I can be that person that can reach out to any of them and tell them, hey, it's going to be okay. Every day's a great day. Some days are tougher than others. Just, you know, keep your chin up and move forward. That means a lot to me, because, you know, there's always someone out there that needs to hear that and needs to know that they're going to be okay, you know? And if I can help anybody in that regard, I will continue to do what I'm doing forever at the end of the day.
Indeed. I agree with that. And honestly, like, I think, you know, I've seen it multiple times in your Discord that you've reached out to so many people, man. And it's great to see, man. Like, I remember the first time we got back reacquainted, man, I seen that, and I was like, man, this man's been busy, and he's been, you know, helping a lot of people out. I've seen in his Discord, like, a lot of people thank you, I mean, for all, you know, all you do. And I know you do a lot of work. I've seen it. I've been there behind the scenes when you're doing it. And it's impressive, dude. Like, it is impressive. And you know, I mean, it's fantastic, and you're growing, which is something that I feel like you deserve. And I mean, when you work hard at something and you're striving for it, and I hope to see everybody like that, that streams or whatever your goal may be in life. I want to see everybody on the, top of their mountain, basically, that they hit it. And they're like, I did it, basically, type of deal. It's always awesome to see.
And for me, and I said it on my affiliate stream when we had I think we had 11 people, but that was like the highest I had ever been, like, my affiliate stream, and I mean it even still to this day, that I hit the point where I was wanting to be. Everything after this is just cherry on top. Anything further from here is extra, because I've accomplished my goal. I've reached out to people. I have met wonderful people. I'm very thankful for what I got, and the sheer fact that I'm in this position is wonderful to me. And for some people, it's not a big position. You got streamers out here with thousands of people watching them right now. Like, I look over here on my left, and we got people at 6.3K, 9.8K, 20.5K. But with me, how many of them are being reached by the streamer? For me, I look at this chat and I see names, and they're friends. I know pretty much everybody that's been chatting so far, and I know about them, what they do, what they enjoy, the games that they play. We're back and forth talking constantly about stuff. And for me, I honestly like that. I like that kind of connection. And it really warms my heart with it. Don't know who this focal person is. Seems like a bot. TMA.
I don't know Focal. I know Vestin.
Right.
I'm getting tired of him getting me into trouble.
Oh, the Dark Souls, or the D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. Too many D's. There's so many
Grimmir's
D's.
not happy. Grimmir's not happy.
Oh, funny. Man, Dungeons and Dragons has been really fun for me so far. It's been a bit of a headache because, being the DM and then the streaming side of things, it's been a little bit of a headache, but I think everybody's been enjoying it really well. What up, Dumpling? Hey, I think we've almost got our whole entire party in here. We got Sir Baldus, we got Dumpling, we got Focal. The only thing missing is Damascus, but he don't really do Twitch stuff. So, hey, gang's all here right now, for D&D.
Heck yeah, man.
I hope you guys have been enjoying it so far.
Oh yeah, I've been enjoying it, and I know the others have been too. I mean, and I knew as soon as you told me the crew that was going to be the players, I was like, oh Lord, this is going to either be a fantastic thing or it's going to be a nuke.
Right.
In a good way, not in a bad way, but it's just, I knew there was going to be some off the wall stuff that I've never seen before, which I know I'm new to D&D, and even you've said it, like, already through the playthroughs, you're like, on all my experiences, I have never had a group do this before, and you've said that like 3 times in our campaign, and I'm like, I am not surprised from the people we have in this campaign.
Yeah.
No, we're not killing Damascus. He saved my life.
Nah, Damascus has been killing others. Damascus has been absolutely like what a barbarian should be. It's awesome.
Focal. I'm surprised people haven't questioned me grammar and things. No, I support you because that's what Grimmir would do. So when you wanted the wine keg, I pulled out my wheelbarrow and just went along with it. I didn't care what it was for. I'm like, he needs it. All right, let's go.
Yeah. Nance has been very supportive. I won't lie, as a DM, I don't always vocal my things, I've been noticing it, and I've been like, I don't know, but let's see where it goes. I'm always interested in seeing where it goes.
But that's the beauty of D&D, right? Like, that's right. The beauty of it. Where will it go if you let it go that far? Like,
that's right.
It makes no sense at all at times. It might derail like something you're like, oh my gosh, that's something I've never seen before. But let's see where it goes. I mean, it could lead to something interesting. Like, we can go back to our little practice session with just me and Dumpling, where he did he tried to dodge the cart by jumping over it, basically, and landed on the cart. Like, that was just amazing. Like, that feeling was amazing, and I was just spectating at that point. Like, it's just, that's an awesome thing about D&D, man. But go ahead.
And also, TMA just brought up something that is a great example of how good a wizard is. Because other parties don't get a wheelbarrow, because we had a wizard that was able to use Tezzler's floating disc. So we get a wheelbarrow because you got to be a wizard, whereas other parties, they don't pick wizard.
It's true. And I'm so glad you taught me into wizard, man. And I'll go back to the this other spell you helped me, because I was talking to you about where I'm new. I'm still like trying to figure out my spell stuff, and you're like, hey, you might want to try a silvery barb. And yep. I was like, I read the spell and I was like, that is good. And I remember it saved my character's life in that campaign.
Or at least being thrown.
True, but I mean, not taking damage and and I don't, I'm not trying to assume, how long we're going to be down there. So, taking damage is probably ill-advised as much as possible, because I don't want to put Baldus under pressure of having to save me.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it's been a great experience so far, even as the wizard, and I don't know if the parties knows this or anybody's watching, at the start, of course, like you told me, wizards are not that impactful starting off in combat, stuff like that, but I can see the power of the wizard just from the events of D&D. It's not just the combat, but just when we're walking around, stuff like that. That's where a wizard makes a lot of impact, to be honest. Bringing the keg along, bringing the chest along that everybody kept trying to open and for some reason could not open because the dice will not let them. But
so and other parties wouldn't be able to carry the chest around because they're too heavy and they take two hands to carry around. So you're looking at, do you have your weapons out, and are you ready to fight, or are you going to take the chest with you? And with Tezzler's floating disc, boom, go for it, bring it with you.
Yeah,
and that is wizard in a nutshell. Things you normally can't do, wizard it.
Pretty much.
That's a good t-shirt slogan. Actually. Things you can't normally do, wizard it.
And the uniqueness too, because I know it's went off the wall. And I want to say this to the party, because I talked to you about it. If y'all are questioning why when Sir Baldus got pinned in the episode by the ghoul, and instead of Grimnir shooting an earthbolt at it, he tries to tackle it off of the ghoul. I don't know why I didn't think about this at the time, but it's actually in his lore. And seeing a fellow dwarf basically getting mauled just snap Grimnir back to his past. For anybody that knows Grimnir's lore, and I'm not going to go into too detail on it, but you can go to D&D and watch it on YouTube, and I explain it there, but on Brim's channel, but he just kind of freaks out and it's like, okay, I gotta save him. So what better way to do it than try to spear the ghoul off of Balls' character?
Mm-hmm.
It failed horribly, but it was glorious. So that's all I cared about.
Right.
But it was just amazing because even Dumpling said it best. He goes, why is it that the wizard's getting so hands-on as the one guy? I don't know, man. It's just, I love that, man, about D&D.
We definitely have a very aggressive wizard. I mean, immediately taking the lead, charging right into the fray, going right into fighting things, and just kind of well, I'll go first if nobody else is going to.
Oh, yes.
And I've loved that.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, it's not Nance that's making those decisions. It's Grimnir at the time. Yes, I'm the player, but I literally let myself get consumed by that character and his lore, and my decisions are based on what I think Grimnir would actually do, pretty much.
And that is how you're supposed to play D&D. Whatever you think your character would do is the way to go. And to bring up what Zalos was talking about, a certain Dragonborn he knows didn't care about a wheelbarrow to take a wine keg. That is my character Brimthen, the half dragon fighter, and I just hoisted that thing onto my shoulder and fought people one-handed. I did not care.
I want to see you play your character, man. I do. I want to see that Dragonborn be played. I'll find that fascinating to watch Brimthen actually come to life inside D&D.
Oh yeah, I want to do that at some point because I when I played him, I didn't know the game very well. And now I've been a DM, I've been, many different faces at this point, and done it for many years. And now, like, if I could sit down and be a character, I would have so much fun with it, I think.
Oh, yes. Like, I can, like, even like you said, when you become a DM, it's hard to go back to being a player, but, like, there's just something special about being a player, man. There is something special about it. And I get it, like, when you throw the curtains back, when you're just a player and you go to be a DM, it kind of, what would be the best word for this? Like, kind of affects your way of thinking as a player or whatever. But, man, like, being just a player, not knowing the DM side of things, you're just like, what's going to happen next? And you're just slowly sliding out of the end of your chair till you're about to fall out of it because of what's all going on. Like, it's, there's nothing like it. And I used to be like, on D&D, but now I'm just like, I'm all about it now, buddy. Like, got the costume and everything.
Can't wait for another session, right?
Right. Yeah.
They don't come soon enough. But
that is true.
We the DMs also have little tricks and things that if a player doesn't know about it, it has a lot more impact. It's like knowing the plot of a movie or playing a game for the second time. Like, you're never going to play Dark Souls a second time and have the same experience. Your first time playing Dark Souls is a very, very unique experience that you can't relive, sadly.
This is true. Like, even me, like, after about the second, third, or fourth time I played Dark Souls 1, I was like, man, it just, like, after a while, like, it's still fun, but you'd lose that specialness of your heart beating when you first walk in, especially against Ornstein and Smoke for the first time. Oh my gosh, when you see them for the first time, you're like, holy crap. Oh, yeah. Basically, when you first walk in.
And then they become easy, and you're just like, why was I bothered by this to begin with? Oh, because there's two? Man. Whatever, there's two.
Yeah, like, 'cause I used to be, like, so dodgy on them, right? Like, I used to be so dodgy on Ornstein Smoke. Like, I'd run behind a pillar, just sit there until one of them came up by themselves. And now, dude, like, my strategy, literally, like, it's hard to explain, but I just walk in and just murder Smoke right off the bat. Like, I just walk past Ornstein, I'm like, how you doing, buddy? And I just smack Smoke in, like, 3 seconds, and then Ornstein's dead in about the next 5. And then you're on to the next stage.
Dude, we're back to what we were saying a minute ago. Walk in and kill it. That is how you beat Dark Souls. If you want to beat Dark Souls, go through the boss fog and kill the boss.
Right.
It's like that old meme, go into boss fog, kill boss, question mark, profit. Like, nothing else needs to be explained.
You're right, man. Like, and I know a lot of new players are like, a lot of new players to like the Dark Souls will be like, because I remember you had that one guy in chat. I don't remember his name. Don't want to really say his name because I know he was kind of new, and he was like, all you need is lots of armor. That's what you need. You need all Havel's armor. That's all you need. And I'm like, no, that is not what you need. And just drink through all the damage. Like,
it is a way to beat the game. But
it is not a fun way to beat the game, and I will vocal that. Dude, when I was saying that, I'm just like, what are you talking about?
Well, there's a slight, after you beat Dark Souls, you're really proud of yourself, and however you beat it is the way that you would probably do it for your second round or something like that, unless you have somebody like me talking to you to try new things, do different stuff. Because with Dark Souls, there's so many different ways to beat the game. Like, there's so many different ways to beat the game, and all of them are fairly viable to do. Some more legit than others. Others, I don't usually try to do this little kind of gatekeeping thing of like, this is a legit way to play Dark Souls and this is not the legit way. I'm not going that direction, but it's to get the full experience and to really feel Dark Souls, very, very, very specific vibe that you get from that game. There are certain ways that you want to play. Now, later down the line, after you do it, that's a whole other topic, Once you've beaten a game, do whatever you want, But there's a very specific kind of way that Dark Souls is played, because it's a bit of a roller coaster where you go and you get those upgrades, and then boom, you just smash through all the enemies that were giving you trouble, and then you start to get harder and harder enemies. You start to slow down, you start to learn dances with the new enemies, with the damage you're doing. Then you get another upgrade, and you're boom, slamming through all those enemies that you don't care about anymore. It's this roller coaster of upgrades and winning, and upgrades and winning, and skill, and just like learning these moves. And once you're fully upgraded, then it becomes just dancing. And the bosses after you're fully upgraded are a whole different thing. Like the gargoyles, Kappa demon, Quelaag give people trouble, but like once you get fully upgraded, those are nobody. Those are basic enemies.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Like, you just walk in, you could do those with your eyes closed almost when you first, like, after the second or third time you walk in on them, it's just like,
oh yeah,
then they're dead.
And
basically,
that's why a lot of seasoned players like to play challenge runs like myself. I like, for me to really enjoy Dark Souls now, I have to never level up. Right. Which is just funny. Because if I go through as like a normal run, I'm still going to enjoy it because I don't do them very often. I don't do normal runs too often. But like, I just smash through the bosses and it's the end of the game. Cool.
Yeah, I remember like I had to go do something and I had your stream pulled up while you were doing your level 1 playthrough, and I came back and I'm like, holy crap, he's already there.
Yeah.
It took me 2 days to get there on my first time going through.
And
you got
what
there in like 40 minutes.
And what's so slow? What's so funny about the Soul Level 1 is I feel like I'm going slow. I feel like I'm super slow because I'm having to do all this extra work to like get my character to properly run right. And then it's like, oh, now I can beat the bosses. Whereas like if I had a normal run, it'd be like, I'll just go beat the bosses.
Right, you just walk in and just slap them all the time. You're like, you know what? I need a better challenge. Let me just not level up at all. Let me just use a club, basically.
That's it, yeah. So, I want to get into speedrunning Dark Souls 1 at some point. It's the only thing I really haven't done in the game. I've done just about everything else besides the tedious stuff. Like, I'm only going to use my fists and spend 6.5 hours beating up Manus. Yeah!
No. That's not. That's too much. Even though I give people props for doing it, but like that's a serious feat and love for the game to be able to do something like that. You know what I mean? Like that's insane. Just sitting there for 6 hours punch. My brain can't focus that long. I would end up dying halfway through probably.
I probably won't do those. I may, I don't rule out the possibility that I may do a no-hit run at some point, but that is like, I'll do a no-death run before then, but I probably won't do a no-hit run anytime soon. That one dude that did the no-hit run across every game back-to-back is a madman, and I absolutely, respect that idea, but no hit across all games back to back, resetting back to the first is just, that's too much too.
Oh, yeah, good lord.
But I feel like speedrunning is in the cards for me, both glitched and glitchless. I think I would want to try glitchless and any percent.
Yeah. I think you could do it. Like, honestly, like I've watched you play, like when you were helping Bjorn out, during his playthrough, like you're like, all right, let me show you this. All right, I'm done. Like in like 2 seconds, you already have a boss like showing them, and Bjorn's just kind of like, what?
Right.
After you do it, it's just great to watch.
Yeah, and I got to have that experience with my nieces too, because they were all huddled around the TV trying to play Dark Souls, and they would each take turns just handing over the controller. And, one of them would get so far and the other ones would be telling the other one like, hey, do this, do that. This is how that works. And I'd be sitting there watching them just grinning like, hey, they're all working together. And they got to where they beat the Taurus demon and they were working towards beating the gargoyles. The youngest one beat a gargoyle. Not both of them, but beat a gargoyle. Which was so surprising to me. And I would take it from them, and just like with the Bjorn stuff, I would show them what it was, and they would beg me. They would go, "No, just beat him. We'll keep going. Just beat him." And I'll be like, "Nah, I can't. Y'all gotta do it on your own. Like you guys gotta get that satisfaction."
Right, and that's the thing too, because and you know this better than anybody. Like as you explained to me too, like if you beat it for them, that first experience of ever satisfyingly killing that boss, you just ruined it basically for yourself. Like the people
forever.
that mod the game or whatever to help them get through the game, you literally will never get that back if you decide to use mods or whatever to help you get through the game. If you don't try beating it legit on your first time. And I feel sorry for those people that can't get that back basically, because you missed something if you decided to either have somebody help you beat it or whatever it is. You missed it not being able to do it on your own, basically.
Yeah, because like I said, you don't get that first playthrough back. And if you summon people, you might as well be, glitching or hacking, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, like, you're having someone else beat the game for you. You don't get that satisfaction of beating the boss and working for it and all that. And that's really the game at the end of the day, there's some videos about Skinnerbox stuff and the infrequent win of Solitaire. Imagine if Solitaire, when you beat it, didn't go congratulations. Imagine if it just started a new game immediately, that there wasn't no like cards flying up and down all across the screen. People would not like Solitaire nearly as much as they do, because that infrequent win is what keeps people coming back to the game Solitaire. And that's the same thing with Dark Souls. You work, you do all these challenges, you overcome these hurdles, and then you beat the boss, and you just get this like overwhelming of, I triumphed over something that I was struggling with. And it's unlike any other game, because I can't really say very many games gave me that on the majority of their bosses. I've had games where I struggled with a boss and then I was like really happy that I beat that boss, but like there's been very few games where the first boss was hard, the second boss was hard, the third boss was hard, the fourth boss was hard, and the fifth boss was stupid hard, like I've not seen another game that was able to do that unless it was in the Souls-like category.
I agree, man. Like, there's not been too many other bosses now where I'm like, ooh, that was something when you beat it, because you're just like, not unless it's a Dark Souls game, then you're like, ooh, like Dark Souls 3, the Nameless King. I will tell you right now, I struggle with that boss more than any other boss on Dark Souls 3, like that.
Oh, yeah.
But it is an experience fighting that boss. Let me tell you, it is probably the hardest boss I have ever fought in a Dark Souls game on my first playthrough. Like on the first time, each game that I played, that was probably my most difficult, hardest boss. And probably the second one also came from 3, and it was a DLC dragon. And a lot of people I forgot the name of it, but it was a DLC dragon. And everybody that I talked to about, they're like, oh, that dragon's easy. Like, I destroyed him, but I couldn't. My build where I was so heavy, like it was like a roll boss, and where I was a heavy guy, rolling's not the best when you're playing around in heavy armor and stuff. And I just had a hard time with it. But that's also another point about Dark Souls. Like, it's funny seeing people blaze through a boss and then people struggle with that exact same boss. Everybody has a different boss that's hard for them, and that's fantastic to me. Like, I could use Zennifer as a example. Like, the Abyss Watchers in 3, I struggled with them. It took me about 2 hours to get through them. He walked in on his first try and killed them. And I was like, that is amazing, and I will fight for you, sir.
After not having played Dark Souls 2 in probably like, I don't know how long. But to speak on what TMA just said, that their Dark Souls, there is no difficulty, only hard. To speak on that, I disagree. I don't think Dark Souls is hard. I think there's certain bosses that are hard. I'll give Ornstein and Smough when you're first playing them as a difficulty thing. The Nameless King will always be hard, But like, I could teach anybody to play Dark Souls just about, if they just, you know, have the patience and have the ability to go, all right, I'm not going to give up after dying a few times. Because I think what actually turns people off from that game is not necessarily that it's a hard game. It's that it's different than the games they've been playing. You know, I like using Skyrim as an example because it's the quickest for most people to understand. But when I killed my first dragon on Skyrim, I really wasn't super excited. Like, the whole fight was cool. I thought it was a neat thing to do, having to get the dragon out of the sky and all that, and then having to fight it on the ground. But the boss, the dragon just kind of felt like it stood there. Like, it didn't feel dynamic. With Dark Souls, the bosses move around. There's like, you got to do specific stuff. When if the boss moves to this corner of the room, you gotta kind of do other stuff, you know, like you can't just like, they don't stay statically sitting there. So like, while it was a nice spectacle and it was pretty and it felt ominous with a dragon, when it was dead, I didn't really feel like, oh, I accomplished something. But now with Dark Souls, every single boss except Pinwheel
oh Lord.
Except Pinwheel, I got this feeling of, man, that was something. Like, that was different. That was a feeling that you just don't really get with other games. And so I don't think it's hard. I think it's different. Because if you ask any Dark Souls veteran, is the gargoyles hard? They're going to tell you no. Like, the gargoyles is where some people quit playing Dark Souls, and they think it's a hard boss because they died a few times. And if you're here, Ace is a great example. I'm 100% sure that he can beat it. Watching him, he was a natural. He was absolutely rolling through the basic enemies. But once he hit the gargoyles and hit bosses, he kind of hit a wall because he started dying. And when he started dying, he started kind of falling into himself of like, I'm never going to be good at the game, or like, I'm never going to, you know, it's too hard. And him just pushing just a little bit more beat the bosses. And I wholeheartedly believe anybody can beat Dark Souls. I don't believe that it's impossible for people to beat it. Because it's not. It's really, at the end of the day, a fairly easy game. It's just patience, confidence, and overcoming obstacles at the end of the day. And I will even contest that my first playthrough, I had similar feelings to other people. You know, me and Nance went back and watched some old footage of myself, and I said some things that I did not expect to see.
I was hoarse from laughing so hard at some of the stuff you were saying.
Yeah.
I
was sitting there like, I was saying like, Ornstein and Smough is almost impossible to beat solo. You have to summon people for it or whatever. And I'm sitting here like, no. But the time that I played that, there wasn't many guides. There wasn't many videos to watch. There wasn't anybody to really like go off of. It was a very difficult game where everybody was kind of learning it at the same time, because it was launch basically. And it was a game that like nobody had, it's not really been on the market before. There was Demon Souls, but it wasn't super popular. There was a few hard games in the past, but nothing like Dark Souls. And you know, I was going into it blind. I had nothing to go off of or any help whatsoever. So my immediate response was, this is designed to be a cooperative boss. You know, there's two bosses here and you need help, and that's the whole point, right?
Those were the moments that made me laugh, because I've heard you preach so much, you know, go through the game solo, never ever summon somebody. And then we go back and watch those, and I'm like, boy, that was a different Brim back then.
Oh yeah, and I slapped my face. I was embarrassed immediately, because again, I got memory problems. I've talked about that before, but my brain doesn't retain memories as easily as other people, and that's why I do that kind of stuff. You know, that's why I did that for Dark Celtic Gaming. Because I had no idea what my first gameplay was like for Dark Souls until I went back and watched it with you, and oh man, I ate my words immediately.
Right. But I mean, at the end of the day, that was you and a, younger you in the past. And plus, like you said, there weren't many guides out. So Dark Souls was probably hard for everybody back then, to be honest. I bet it was hard for everybody. And anybody that said, oh, I blew through it, they're probably lying. Odds are. There's a boss that everybody got stuck on, or Ornstein Smoke, I guarantee you, probably stopped numerous players from ever progressing through that game without help from the great Sun Lord and then a bunch of other players to come help them out and stuff like that. Like, I mean, even you back then, I mean, you were like, this is meant to be co-op. Like, even you said, you were really like, when you said that, but yeah, you truly believed that was meant to be co-op.
And a part of it also is it wasn't very optimized back then. We had lower frame rates. We had a lot more lag. It was harder to play back then. There was bugs because it was just released onto PC. Our controllers didn't even work properly because we had to program our controllers ourselves to work with the game. Because you had to have an alternate program that would read your Xbox controller or your PlayStation 3 controller at the time, and that program would turn your controller into a keyboard and mouse, and it was never as accurate as it is now because it's simulating a mouse and simulating keyboard, not genuinely. So it wouldn't have been as easy to play as if you played it on the PS3 or Xbox. So it's a funny time period, really, at the end of the day. And then I was trying to stream it, so my frames were like 15. I was playing it at 15 FPS and still beating bosses.
and honestly, that's impressive because I don't think I could ever play a game in 15 frames. I am sorry, especially a game like Dark Souls. I would be like TMA, throw a controller through the wall.
Yeah, never again. Never again. I struggle playing games at 60 FPS anymore. Like, having gotten used to 1440p, 144 hertz, and like games running at like 150 to 200 FPS, it is very hard for me to go back to 60 FPS gaming.
Yeah, but we just had a conversation about that where I'm, with my new setup, I'm getting used to that now. Like, I'm always used to 60 frames or lower, and now I'm like, what do I do with all this? What is this?
Yeah,
that's a thing.
And I've had friends in the past. It's like, you don't need more than 60. Your eyeball can only see 60. And I remind people, gaming is not just what you see with your eyes. It is your computer. How quickly your computer shows something on the screen is more important than how fast your eye saw it. Because the difference between his head being right here and his head being a couple pixels over and you're shooting at a pixel is a massive difference when you're talking about frames per second. I would much rather have the newest possible picture rather than half, the times, half the speed. And plus, it just makes everything run faster. Like in Minecraft, a higher frame rate makes everything kind of smoother and gives you more headroom for when redstone and stuff is messing with. Because it messes with your game, too.
Oh, yes. And to be honest, now that you're saying that stuff, I bet that was a huge problem why people, all the time. I know you've heard this back on the like Call of Duty, all the old shooters. Like, I could have swore that was a headshot, and I guarantee you it was because of FPS is why you think it was a headshot, and it actually wasn't because of that little slight pixel, and it just doesn't register. Besides, the actual lag and stuff, but I guarantee you the pixels were some of those missed headshots that should have been a headshot type deals. I guarantee it now.
And 100%, because there's so many things. You not only have the hertz of your monitor, you have the frame rate of your graphics card, you have the latency of your internet, the megabytes per second, the ping, the ping that everybody likes to talk about, to the ping to the server. You have the server's latency, because one thing that a lot of people forget is that a video game that you are playing is not being ran completely on your computer. There's a good portion of it that is off somewhere in a LAN server thing way off in the distance that your computer's connecting to, and the whole environment and everything going in on it is being simulated on that server. And how much latency or how much RAM and CPU that server has can affect things. Because you get into these moments where on your side, you saw his head and you shot him. This happens in Rainbow Six Siege all the time. There's big data analytical diagnostic stuff about this. It happened in an esports thing a year ago or so, and they broke it down to where he shot, and on his screen he clearly, definitively headshotted that person. But because the server was on a different latency, the server recognized it as a couple pixels over. So on his screen, it's direct and perfect, but on the server, it's over here, and it whizzes right by them. So at the end of the day, there's so many small things that go into that one bullet being fired at your enemy in gaming that it is mind-blowing that anything even works.
Right. And that's the thing, because I know I've been there. I'm sure you've been there. Almost anybody in chat has been there. I'm sure of it. Just you're like, that was a headshot, and I know it. Don't you lie to me, basically. and you don't think about that stuff. Like it could be a pixel over, it could be the server lagging. I mean, whatever. Or and I've been guilty of this too, of chalking it up to be like, oh, that guy's probably hacking or something. Something off the wall when you're competitive and stuff like that. Like. It's crazy, but now that I think about it, like when I go back to Siege, Call of Duty, or any of that stuff, like when because I remember, how many times I've said, "Oh, that was a headshot." No, that was definitely a headshot. I don't know why he didn't die. Like, but I mean, at the end of the day, you just gotta accept it, because there's only so much that the server and everything can do, and all those variables being put together. Of course, you're going to have a bunch of missed headshots or bullets registering, stuff like that.
Yeah. And then hitboxes, we were talking about Ash has a smaller hitbox, or in Counter-Strike, they had these issues where, the backpacks were counted as part of the body and stuff, and they had to like change from a block hitbox to like this more amorphous blob circular hitbox. Because not only do you have hit registry and your computer and all the latency things, but you also have hitboxes and whether or not your pixel hit the correct pixel.
Right.
It's fascinating to me that it works that way. But yeah, no, like it makes a difference wherever you can put a couple extra FPS or hertz or whatever, and I can notice the difference. Like when I go from these computers here down to my mammals and play games, like I can feel the difference, and I can definitely see the difference because it's the difference between 1440p and 1080p. But it is what it is.
Oh yes, because I'm starting to feel it now. Like I was like, good gosh, how did I even play before?
Right.
Like it's quite a difference, and I wish everybody that gamed and on PC and stuff could have this setup and experience that. Because there's a lot of people out there. They're on a budget, and they just buy a computer and be like, all right, this is good enough for me, even if I have to play on low, and stuff like that. Like, good enough. Like, I want people to feel this experience. I was telling my girlfriend about it too. I was like, I want you to play on my setup and really feel the game. And she's like, no, my computer's fine. It does what it needs to do. I'm like, I promise you. I said, you will change your mind when you sit down at my computer.
Oh yeah, real quick too. That happened with Bjorn, my nephew. Console versus PC just by itself as a topic is hilarious to me, that even people consider consoles better than PC. Because like I took him and he was playing Warzone and he was averaging like 7 kills or whatever a match, and he was really happy with like how good he was doing. Among his friends, people were like sending him messages to like come play with them, because when you got that one guy that's really good at a game, you want him in your party to play with you. So his friends at school and stuff would always be messaging him on his PS4, and he was really proud of his Warzone capabilities. And me, you already know, I don't play Warzone. Like I really don't care too much about Call of Duty games, but I jumped on there and we did the cross-play thing, and I was out gunning him every single time, and I'm like, I don't even play this game. What do you mean you're good at it? You know, like it was bugging the crap out of him. And then we swapped spots, and my score went down to a 4th because I can't play on console to save my life. But he went from 7, and he was pulling 14, 15, 16 kills on a match. First time jumping on a PC, immediately figured it out, immediately just started getting headshots, and he was like, you know, there's guns that I would never play on console, but like they're so good. You're so accurate with these. Like he was starting to use like the semi-automatic guns to get the headshots, you know, and stuff like the scout and stuff like that. Scout guns, and he was just pulling off these headshots from long distances, and he was just like, this is a whole different, I'm convinced, you know. It completely changed his mind immediately.
Right. Honestly, like there has been one console player that when they start debating between PC and console, that when they finally sit down and start playing on the computer, they're like, okay, you got me. Like every time too, but they'll argue with you until they actually sit down and use a PC.
Now,
but once they use that PC, it's just.
Now that topic is changing slightly because games companies are starting to catch wind of that, and they're starting to make it to where aim assist is stronger on a controller. Now, when we talk about aim assist on PC, that's hacking. That's cheating. That's literally like letting the computer shoot heads for you. Like aim assist on PC is super frowned upon, but on console, it's baked into the game. Like they just put it on there. And I contribute a large portion of my love for Modern Warfare 2 to that aim assist because it's literally in the tutorial. Like when you aim down sights, your gun will snap to the head, you know, like they literally shouted at you at the start of the game. And I went back and played Modern Warfare 2, and I was like, because I had forgot about that, and my jaw dropped. I was like, holy crap, like aim assist on console like blows my mind, which I recognize you have to because an analog stick is super inaccurate. It's so hard to control it properly to get lined up that you need an algorithm or a program to help guide your analog stick. And we had this happening on Halo recently, where people standing still had an enemy run through their line of vision, and their character would move on its own like a good 10, 15 degrees to keep up with that dude moving through the air. And yeah, it was absurd. There's a whole bunch of things that's like that I'm talking about. And it baffles me because at the end of the day, you're literally saying that, you know, the controller is worse because you have to have an aim assist to even function.
Oh yeah, like I'll even attest to this about the aim assist. Like on Red Dead Online, like I ain't gonna lie, I use the controller, and I'm not kidding you. It is OP on Red Dead Online. Like you aim, flick your right analog stick up just a tad. You know you'll get it down. You just let off your aim again, flick up, pull the trigger. It's a headshot every time, and it's. And I'll even say it is OP, and it is kind of stupid to be. It's like how ridiculous it is, because I've had people, and there's a few people that played with me that could attest to this. We were destroying people that picked a fight with us, and we were beating them so bad that they turned on hacks because they thought it was so unfair that we were just destroying them. So they had to turn on like invincibility hacks and stuff so they wouldn't die to us. And I was like, that's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that is.
But yeah, like Red Dead is like my main one where I can tell you that aim assist is, it's been upgraded over the years. Like just being able to aim, flick, fire, dead. Like I don't care how good you are at aiming on a keyboard, like that will destroy you if you give them a split second and they figure it out, basically.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But yeah, it like you said, it's upgraded over the years. The aim assist has like I didn't even know Modern Warfare 2 had aim assist. When I played, and you know, it throws it right in your face. I had no idea. when I was playing it.
The literal tutorial starts you out of shoot from the hip, and you don't aim down sights, and then it goes aim down sights, and then it's like when the target comes up, aim down your sights and then start shooting, and it'll flick to their heads, and it's like if you don't do it correctly, he'll even start yelling at you, aim down your sights and it will automatically go to the head. Like I'm and just yelling it at you, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, because they're wanting you to, because how you mess it up is you hold down the trigger and stay ADS and then shoot it, and they want you to literally just ADS long enough for the algorithm to snap to the head and shoot. Like, that's so insane to me, because if you had that on PC, to like almost any degree, people would call you a hacker, because there's people with CSGO, Rainbow Six Siege, that will slow down footage, and particularly Counter-Strike. Jericho, famous streamer or YouTuber that does the Overwatch system of Counter-Strike, where they look for hackers and stuff. He will slow down the video to watch their cursor, see if it skips a pixel or two. Like, he will watch to see if it was them moving it or if it was some program, because it will look robotic, because it'll just move in a straight line perfectly to their head, and he can tell it just from that. And I just think it's so funny that like controllers have to have that. But at the same time, like, consoles are a different market. It's more casual gaming. And it gives gaming to people who might not get the opportunity to play games, because it's a lot more affordable than PC gaming. So for that note, console gaming is a great thing. I'm not completely bashing console gaming, but this war that goes on of PlayStation's better than Xbox, at the end of the day, it all boils down to PC's the best. And that Xbox and PlayStation are basically the same exact device, peddling the same exact things with a different controller layout. Like, I used to be die-hard Sony. I used to be die-hard PlayStation, and I will wholeheartedly admit that I was 100% a fanboy. And looking back on those days, I now say to myself, what a fool. Like, they're the exact same product, doing the exact same stuff, peddling the exact same objects.
Yeah, that's basically it. And you, if it's funny, before I really got a PC, I'd flip between the two. I had a PS2, then I went to Xbox 360, and then I went to PS4. I would flip in between them, and I don't know why I did that. I think it was just my friends, or we were just all kind of talking about it and kept doing that, basically. But like, yeah. It was just, I think maybe it been because I think I always felt like 1 year Xbox would do good, the next year PlayStation would do good. And that's how I felt about it. And it kind of felt that way, but I mean, I could be wrong, but that's just how it felt. Like, I thought PS2 ruled over regular Xbox. Xbox 360 beat out PS3, and then PS4 beat Xbox One. That's just how I feel about it. But at the end of the day, they're both the same thing. I mean, enjoy whatever, whichever one you want. And
like chat's bringing up, Nintendo's the only one that did things properly, giving unique experiences with their unique consoles that did unique things. They always were innovating the market to be different, but accessible to anybody. And I gotta commend Nintendo on it. They stood out in a market where everybody was trying to be just slightly better than the other. And speaking on that PlayStation, Xbox that you were talking about back in the day, I did things just a little bit more embarrassingly. I was arguing over frames by like 1 or 2 frames, like, oh, the PlayStation CPU is superior because it's got yada yada yada, whatevers, and this game is running at like 4 FPS stronger than the Xbox would, and that means it's a better console. And now I'm sitting here at like 250 FPS, like, cool, I went down 3 frames.
Right. Like, and that's the crazy part too. Like, when you look back at, stuff like that, like, we've been complaining about a couple of frames, but in reality, that doesn't really matter now.
I'm actually disappointed in the PS5, PS4 generations. I really do think that the PlayStation 4 should have at least been a 4K player, just like they did with Blu-ray back in the day. It should have been 4K movie discs and all that good jazz right off the bat. And they didn't do that, and there was no backwards compatibility hardly at all. I think there should have been at least some. But the PS5, I think, is the worst case of it, and that's not even because it's been scalped. It's because, honestly, your 5th console should really be an Omnibox, where it's like the PlayStation X or some weird number or something, where it can play PS4, PS3, PS2, PS1, and then all the new PS5 games, and then be a 4K player. Like, make an all-in-one inclusive gaming system. Not like Xbox, where it's like everything entertainment. Like, I don't know what Xbox was doing with that. Like, the marketing around that Xbox was weird. Like, you're not even wanting to be a gaming console anymore. That's like just kind of a sticky note on the side. You want to be an entertainment console now. Like, I don't know about all that.
Like, it's what, like, just everything they've been doing with them recently, I'm just like, what? It used to be all about gaming. Now you've got all this. It's a DVD player now, and you can stream all your shows on it and everything. And I'm just like, huh? What happened to it? Used to be all about, the love of games and stuff like that. Now it's all about movies and all this other stuff. And honestly, I think that's kind of hurting Xbox and PlayStation, out of all honesty. That's just my opinion, though. I think they could add more to it if they wouldn't adding all that stuff onto your hard drive and stuff like that. Like, but that's the gaming market today. That's why a lot of games are super hyped up, and it comes out, it's full of bugs, and everybody thinks it's terrible. It's more like I'm not blaming the developers and stuff like that. I'm not going to say that, but I've always said, like, the love for gaming and to produce an adventure for people has went downhill. And I could use Blizzard as a clear example for this, and I'm not going to get too much into it, because everybody has different opinions on that. But I'm just saying, if you look at Diablo 2 from back in the day, and then you look at Diablo 3 now, and I know a lot of people love Diablo 3, and that's fine. It's a great game. I even enjoyed it. But you could just see the care from Diablo 2 and 3, like what the fans wanted and then what they got from Diablo 3. Like, the reason why a lot of people like Diablo 3, they never played 2 because they were console players. 3 came out and it went to consoles and stuff like that. That's why everybody likes 3 so much. It wasn't a PC exclusive. And you could just see it, like, even the devs now, like, everybody knows about that if you're into gaming, about what's going on with Blizzard. I'm not going to get into that, but it's just every company seems to be like that. Like EA, it used to have really good Madden football games. Now it's literally copy paste, money. That's all it feels like anymore. To me, anyways.
Oh yeah, and I agree with TMA. Every generation that we've had so far has tapped out the potential of that console, and these last few really haven't tapped out the potential of the consoles. There's a slight argument with PS3 being tapped out, because if you go look at some of the very, very last games that came out for PS3, for example, Resistance 3, while not being a great game, because I have some struggles with Resistance 3, the graphics was insanely good for Resistance 3.
I agree.
I think they put the graphical portion of games got tapped out, but maybe not the full potential of games. PS4 has definitely not reached its full potential. It's maybe not even halfway there. And I think that's a little bit of companies, because we've kind of stopped pushing our abilities. And I think games like Elden Ring are going to be very beneficial to the industry, because Elden Ring looks like it's pushing all of the envelopes as much as it can, from what I can see. When I play it, we'll be a lot more certain of that. But given the history of From Software, given the history of Dark Souls, every Dark Souls has been looking better and better graphically. Maybe not mechanically with Dark Souls 2, but the difference between Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 is night and day. And I feel like Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring are going to be night and day. I really, 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 really think Elden Ring is going to be solid. But we will find out here February 25th, which is an exciting little moment.
I hope they knock it out of the park. I really do. Like
I do too.
And I wish that for every game. Like even games that I don't even care about, I hope they knock it out of the park. But it's so disheartening anymore nowadays, because I know you've been the same like me. Like nowadays we're all like, come on, I want it to be good, but at the same time you don't want to get on that train, because half the time it's been a disaster every time it comes out. Like every game, like you can go to Cyberpunk, anything like that. Like it's just been a total train wreck when it comes out, especially for the console players. I felt bad for them on Cyberpunk. I don't know if you saw that or went into that. Like Sony was having to refund people Cyberpunk because of how messy it was.
Yeah,
like,
it was messy.
It was terrible.
And I had a feeling it was going to do that. I think I was telling people, like, I don't know how I feel about Cyberpunk right now. But speaking on what TMA just said, yeah, certain games did. And I think I have a way to reiterate what I said earlier. The exclusives, because all the games that pushed the PS3 was really only on the PS3. Games that were multi-companied, they didn't use the CPU properly because it was all, first-party CPU stuff. Like Sony had went way out here and tried to reinvent the wheel a little bit and built a program into the PS3 that you couldn't really work with as easily on a PC, whereas Microsoft, all their games that ran on Xbox was easily put onto a computer, and oftentimes was. So with the PS3, the games that got pushed the furthest was people that was 100% trying to push them, and they were mostly exclusive because they were only working with the PS3 at the time. So yeah. But I agree with you, Nance, on that, that I hope every game does well. We had Brink that really set the pace for me, and I think is really what hurt me on hype gaming. Like me and you have sat down and talked about hype gaming, and I'll just kind of slightly speak on that. I think hype gaming is one of the worst things that's happened to gaming in a long time. This going to the latest, newest shiny thing and then jumping to the next latest shiny thing, even if you don't know the game or really like it. And I'm not going to talk about certain games or whatever, but there's this kind of really sad thing that's happening where, you and your friends are playing a game and playing something that you really enjoy, and everybody's really into it. And then a new game comes out. And it's a game that none of them talked about before. Nobody's really been interested in it. It's just that it's new, and they jump over to that new game, and then, they don't ever come back to the next project because they go to the next new game and so on. And, everybody can do their own things, but it's kind of awkward because it's like you were super hyped up about this game and then just kind of abandoned people. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I can attest that. And there's nothing wrong with, moving from game to game if that's what interests you. Like there's nothing wrong with it. But
yeah,
me and you both were practically like this. I can pretty much speak for. When I play a game, and I know you agree with this, you want to beat the game inside out. You want to explore every nook and cranny of the game before you move on to a new one. Because if you move on to a new one, you're probably not going to come back to that one. Usually odds are, like, a lot of people are like, they're like, I'll come back to it. I've been guilty of that. Like, that's why I stopped hopping games and stuff like that, because you never come back to it. Like, and I can attest for so many games where I've done that too, and I'm like, dang, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Like, I wish I would have beat that game inside and out before I moved to the next one. But I love the variety of games out there. Like, it's nice because you're like, ooh, I want to play that, I want to play this, I want to play that. But there's only so many games, so much time in a day for you to play, so you have to pick which one you want and stuff like that. And yeah, like, I feel like people, like, this is how I play my games. $1 an hour. If you pay at $60 games, that game better have about 60 hours worth of gameplay in it, or else I don't feel like it's worth it, personally. Anyways, some people might feel different about that. I feel different about some games. I recently played Guardians of the Galaxy, and I got 19 hours out of it. but the story was so good on that. I don't care if it fell short of how many hours. And plus, it has New Game Plus, and you can go back through, unlock stuff that you missed, stuff like that. Like, and that, you know, keeps you playing, so I can see where you can get your hours, you know, your money's worth out of it. But
yep,
say you pay $60 for, and I've been really against AAA titles lately. Pay $60 for a game, only has like what 10 hours worth of content in it if you just bash through the main story and don't do any of the side stuff like that. And Skyrim was very bad for this. We're going back to Skyrim again, where the main missions were like 3. It was like 3, and I was like, because I did all the side stuff, and it took me a week to beat all the side stuff, right, and all the DLC stuff like that. I came back to the main mission. I'm like, all right, I have done everything. I've geared out. I am ready for the end and ready to dive deep into the main story. And then I killed the dragon, and I'm like, this is it. This was like 3 missions into the main mission or something like that. Like, I can't remember. It might be a little bit more. I could be wrong, but it was very disappointing. at the end of the day, I was like, you could have done more. And I'm not trying to hate on Skyrim. I actually like Skyrim. I hated it, but my girlfriend talked me into modding it. That's where I really got a big love for mods. I know how some people's opinions are about mods, but there is some mods that do make a game. There is some mods that do make a game though. Like, no joke, it makes it even better. Like, it, you know, the way I make, you know, argument about mods and stuff, like when you're playing, is like, you know, you're like, oh, I wish they would have done this, you know. Well, mod can give you that usually, and that's my argument on it. If you want to make the game better, but some people don't know how to restrain themselves, and they put in mods that make them too OP. I ain't gonna lie, in Skyrim, I gave myself the Kamehameha from Dragon Ball Z. It was just running through there going, Kamehameha! Like, it was just hilarious to me. Like, it I shouldn't have had it in the game, but it did drain my mana so much that where you can only hold it for like a second. So it really wasn't that busted at the end of the day. Like, it was kind of useless, to be honest. But I put in there as a joke for me anyways. But I had freaking Aragorn's sword from Lord of the Rings in there, and that's my main weapon. I was running around through there using it, and it was great.
Yeah,
but I mean, go ahead.
And on the topic of mods, like, I respect anybody using mods if they've experienced the game first. Like, if you're playing it for the first time and you're just pulling in, you know, Randy Savage dragon mods and stuff, like, you're not really experiencing the first time playing Skyrim. You know what I mean?
I would agree with that.
And I don't have any problem with people modding, you know, after they've had that experience. You know, to each their own, do what you want to do. It's just, I've never enjoyed mods much. I play a game, I want to enjoy that game, for example. And Zalos brings up a great point. You know, with Skyrim, you need to do a minimum amount of modding just to make the game stable sometimes. But going back on the hype gaming thing, when I'm talking about hype gaming, I'm not talking about, you know, you're excited for a game. Like right now, I'm excited for Elden Ring. I don't look at that as hype gaming. That's a game that I've played Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Demon Souls, Bloodborne. You know, I'm played a bunch of the games, you know, and I'm excited to play the next one, the Elden Ring. I've been excited for a long time. When I'm talking about hype gaming, I'm talking about you just heard of it yesterday and tomorrow it comes out, so you're going to abandon all your friends to play a brand new game just because it's brand new that, you know, you've never spoke about before. You know, that's the hype gaming mentality that I talk about here. Yeah, like No Man's Sky is kind of another example of hype gaming, but in a different direction, where they really hyped up this game and had huge promises that they didn't really deliver. 'Cause like with No Man's Sky, you're sitting there expecting it to be this vast open world. And when I went into No Man's Sky, I highly expected that I would see somebody else, maybe. But it was within like 48 hours that 2 people met on the exact same planet at the exact same precise coordinate, but they couldn't see each other. And I guess they had it in their mind that they would promise this and then deliver it later, because the universe would be so big, so massive, so expansive that it just didn't make sense for gamers to be able to do that. But they underestimated gamers. See, people had already gotten to the center of the universe and basically beaten the game in a way within like 72 hours. People just like binged the game, and you have millions of people playing it all at one time. So if you ever want to stress test, promise something that's not in the game yet, and then let everybody have fun with it. Like, you're going to immediately get bad press.
Yep, that is true.
But that's just the classic don't make promises you can't keep situation. So
yeah, and Cyberpunk did the exact same thing as well on some of it. It promised all this glorious stuff, and it did not deliver.
and some, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like over advertising basically for their game before they can promise what they're executing, because the suits are like, we need to get it out now. We need to get it out now.
Yep.
Like, so, when Cyberpunk kept getting pushed back, I'm like, they need time. The devs don't feel it's ready, but I'm assuming, you know, whoever's wanting to make the money off the title are like, put it out now, put it out now. And I feel bad for the developers that are trying to get the game to where it needs to be to meet the standard, and they just don't have the time because people are just wanting to push them out before they're ready. And that's the thing about Warhammer 3. Remember, because it was supposed to come out in December, and they were like, all right, we're pushing it back to February. And me and you both talked about it. We're like, yeah, that's a good thing. That means they're getting rid of some bugs that's not going to be annoying when it actually comes out and stuff like that. Like, a lot of people's like, I want it now, but it's like you want it now, but then you're going to be the same person that's going to complain when you run into a game-breaking bug and stuff. Like, it's better to wait than it is to get it now. And I will tell anybody that wants a game now, like, let them have the time they need. And also, like, I never made like a very in-depth game, but you know, we use RPG Maker, stuff like that. Like, I worked a week on a game, and they give you all the bases and foundations, right? I had 15 minutes worth of gameplay in a week. 15 minutes after like an entire week worth of work on that thing. And it's like, man, it's like, holy crap, this is how much work they put into it. Like, it really opens your eyes of how much time they need. That's why it takes years and years to make a great game, you know, and stuff like that. Like, if you never like tried to make a game before, like, whew, let me tell you, you think you did a lot of work, but in reality, you only have like 10 minutes worth of gameplay, and probably all that's full of bugs.
Yep. and this has happened to me very recently with Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. I can overlook bugs. I play Star Citizen. Like, I can overlook any issues most of the time. You know, I noticed that the frame rate was a little funky for certain animations. You know, that very first janitor bot was like super sketchy. Like, he's just like at like 2 frames per second or whatever. And I encountered a bunch of bugs and hand waved them, because at the end of the day, if you've got a solid game and the game has got really core good mechanics and gameplay, you're gonna get immersed in it. You're gonna have fun with it. And the few bugs, they might come up, they might take you out of the experience. But when you rush a game, you start getting some bad bugs. Like, for example, me getting into Freddy and I can't get out, or, you know, having moments where I think that my game's soft locked and I can't actually progress and I'll have to start back over. These are things that, like, you really want to squash before release. And with these bigger companies that push something out faster, it all falls onto the dev team. Because, like, nobody is going to blame the parent company. Everybody's going to blame the developers. And it's really not fair to them at the end of the day, because the developers are trying the best they can, but they got time constraints and whatnot. So I'm one of those people. Yeah, go ahead, delay it. Like, if Elden Ring right now came out and said, hey, we're going to delay it till July. Like, okay, that sucks. I had some stuff planned, but whatever. Like, as long as y'all make the game good, I'm happy.
Exactly. That's the point I make. And it sucks. I know a lot of people want the game now, but that's like what we got taught by our parents when we were children. You know, it's better to wait than to get it right away. You know what I mean? Like, it's always better if you wait.
And Sir Baldus brought up the biggest issue that I was talking about earlier, and he explained it in a much more eloquent way. Serbalda said, I had that issue for many years. Many of my friends would be playing the newest, hottest game, and when I was able to afford it or made my PC better, it was no longer relevant. And it's a sad truth because, you know, we have somebody that wants to participate with, you know, the group, but the group moves on to this, you know, XYZ game, and you might not be able to follow them to there. So you're still on your game, and where they got really hyped up about the game and they play it for a week and then it's over. They go back to some other game or they follow the newest hotness, and you get to miss out on some of those things. And I feel for people that get into those situations, and I think they understand what I mean when I say hype gaming, because when I say hype gaming, it's really a twofold term. One where things are overpromised to gamers and then not fulfilled, and then one where, you know, your friends are running off to this new, just released, shiny, sparkly thing. I've kind of stopped playing new games. FNAF Security Breach really was like the last, you know, new, right this moment game that I played. And it reminded me of how brand new games can be very unpolished. Unlike Inscription, I have 100%ed Inscription off of stream, and I wholeheartedly, out of everything that I am and have, Inscription is the best game that I have played in 2021, and it is, in my opinion, one of the best card games I've ever played. I will call it better than Magic the Gathering only if you remove the social aspect of Magic the Gathering. Board games and card games are the most fun because you have your friends nearby, and that is tremendously more fun than really the card game itself sometimes. But I loved the story of Inscription. I loved the gameplay of Inscription. I loved all the secret little hidden stuff that's in that game. It was such a good experience for me, and I 100%ed it. And I have went and watched YouTubers playing it, and it's given me that kind of Dark Souls feel where I've not really been like super passionate. Like for example, I could go watch somebody play FNAF Security Breach, and while it'd be entertaining, and I'm more watching the streamer than the game, but I get that Dark Souls feeling with Inscription where it's me sitting here and just like, dang, it's such a cool game. I want to see other people's reactions to it. I want to see how they go about through it. Like it's such a unique experience, and I want to see more games that do that. You know, I want to see more games that cause this kind of feeling of, well, how did you go through the game? You know, how did you play through it? What was your experience going through it for the first time? You know?
Oh, I love those games, man, where you get that and you could talk about it with somebody like, how'd you go through this? How'd you do that? And I like the fact that you could beat it in a different way than somebody else does. And that's another beautiful thing about Dark Souls too. But like, yeah, I want to try out that game. Eventually I will play it and try it out. Then we could talk about it. And anybody else that plays it too, I'll be more happy to talk about it with them too, just to see how their experience goes with it. Because at the end of the day, that's the beautiful thing, man, about it. Just how everybody goes about things so differently. Man, you could relate that to anything almost, like in life and everything, man. Just that's what makes it unique.
Oh yeah. And what made that game so unique is it's a bit of a card game escape the room. In between card matches, you get up from the table and then like try to find out the secrets of the room and like what's in it, and you get new cards from discovering it and doing puzzles and stuff like that. There's so many like it's so unique of an experience that I can't really even compare it to anything, because I've played other card games and card games that do actually fairly similar mechanics, but it does it in such a way that is unique to itself. Just like Dark Souls is, you know, an RPG. At the core of it, it's just like any other RPG where you go around and you're in the third person and you go and fight enemies with sword and shields. And if you break it down to just that, you really do a disservice to Dark Souls, if you ask me. That's kind of the same way with Inscription. If you just call it an online card game, it's so much more than that.
Right. I agree.
But I think that'll be it. I got the one last question, which we always ask, is the anime thing. But in particular, on your part here, since the last time we did this, you have watched Redline.
Oh, yes, I have. And boy, was that something to watch. I was grinning ear to ear. My cheeks hurt afterwards. I laughed so hard. That was a good anime. Like, even me, at first I was watching, because the detail and everything, where it was hand drawn and everything, it was different, but it was also good. And I was just like, man, this was something to watch. Like, I know, and it's been a while since I've said that about anything I've watched, because I'm not a big watcher on movies or anything really. So me saying that is, you can take that and be like, man, because there's not many movies where I'll be like, that was good.
Yeah. And the music, the fastness of the cars and stuff is just they show momentum so well.
Oh yes,
momentum in there is awesome. You can really feel the cars like energy and what's going on, and you can in some of those races I got the feeling of like, yeah, no, that one's genuinely faster, because you could just kind of feel how fast it's going. But
oh yeah,
I love showing Redline to people, and I know you enjoyed that. But thank you for coming back onto the podcast. It means a lot to me. Thank you to everybody that was hanging out in chat. Thank you, TMA, for the 1 year sub. Yeah, been a year. You are definitely. He was the first subscriber, and he will be the longest subscriber, because he has kept it going since the very first day. So I'm really, 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 really thankful to TMA and all the support he's given, and everybody else's support that's been hanging out. Thank you, Focal, for hanging out. Thanks, Sir Baldus. Thanks, everybody. If I miss your name, because we had like 11 people in this podcast for a minute there. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Nance, for coming out. If you have anything to say here at the end, go for
it. Let's see. Everybody, I hope you all get into Total War Warhammer when 3 comes out. I want to see more people playing that. I know that's kind of selfish for me to ask, but I enjoy that. And I will see you all in Elden Ring or whatever else y'all are into. Look forward to playing more games with everybody. And thank you all for watching and listening to the podcast.
Yep, and hanging out. And remember to try new things, and that every day is a great day. Some are just tougher than others. Peace.